In New York City, 1881, a man eludes another in the crowded streets. He appears anxious, and eventually enters a building. Inside he pays extra to send a telegram express. A young man receives the telegram. His uncle is urging him to hurry and save him. The young man travels to the uncle's large estate where a lawyer explains the uncle, John Carter, died suddenly and left everything to the young man. He passes the young man, Edgar Rice Burroughs, an old diary. After the lawyer leaves, the young man begins to read. The story begins in Arizona, after the Civil War. John Carter, a decorated former captain in the Confederate Army, is prospecting for gold. The locals don't seem to like him. Colonel Powell of the cavalry tries to press Carter into service to fight the Apache. Carter refuses to cooperate, and after several failed escape attempts, he tricks a cell guard, knocks him out, and escapes Fort Grant on Colonel Powell's horse. Powell and the rest of the cavalry give chase but are forced to halt when they see that Carter has met up with a mounted Apache war band. Both sides are armed and wary, and a language barrier increases the tension. Soon a gunfight breaks out. Carter takes the chance to run off, but Colonel Powell is shot, and Carter returns to retrieve the injured man. The two escape into a box canyon and find a small cave. The Apache approach but quickly withdraw when they see something on the rock above the cave. Confused, Carter returns to where the Apache had been standing, and notices the spider symbol on the rock face. Leaving Powell near the opening, he goes deeper into the cave to investigate. There Carter finds a chamber with strange markings, the walls and roof lined with gold. Entranced, he misses the stranger who appears behind him, and Powell is almost too late to shout a warning. The stranger is a bald man in a shining robe with a knife that seemed to have manifested out of thin air. The two fight, Carter managing to shoot the bald stranger and notices that he had retrieved a blue glowing medallion. Picking it up, Carter repeats the words he heard the other say, and suddenly he awakes in a strange desert. Carter tries to walk but stumbles and appears to float. He spends several minutes learning how to walk in this strange new environment. The gravity on Mars is much lower than what he's accustomed to, but he doesn't know that. He makes his way to the nearby hill and finds a nest of eggs hatching green six-limbed infants. Disturbed, he is about to leave when he notices a group of green creatures approaching. They are mounted on large beasts and armed with firearms, and when they see Carter they open fire until one of them tells the others to stop. This tall green alien with 4 arms lays down his sword and rifle and greets Carter. As with the Apaches, there's a language barrier but the two manage to give their names. The green man is Tars Tarkas, the Jeddak, or leader, of his tribe. Tarkas knows Carter is not a local, and asks him to jump again. Carter takes the chance to jump towards Tarkas' weapons, but before he can fight he is overpowered. Again Tarkas waves off the rest of his group, telling them to spare Carter. They collect the hatchlings, killing the unhatched eggs, and take Carter to their home in the ruins of an ancient city. By this time Carter is horrified and out of his depth. He wants to go home and knows the medallion is likely the only way. Unfortunately, Tarkas has recovered the medallion and wears it. In the city other Tharks treat Carter roughly. They do not recognize what type of being he is and his lack of language comprehension labels him something akin to an animal or baby in their eyes. Thus, he is thrown in with the babies. As is Thark custom, the babies are released to the mob and whoever manages to catch one will be the parent of the hatchling. Carter is given to Sola, a female who the other Tharks seem to view with contempt, particularly another female called Sarkoya. When Carter had been cleaned and put inside a pit to rest with the other babies, she pours a liquid into his mouth. Afterward, he is able to speak and understand the local language. Somewhere further away, a battle between humanoids is happening. They fight on airships, one side blue and the other side red. On a red ship, 3 bald figures appear and approach General Sabvan. They give him a blue mesh device that gives him the ability to shoot bolts of energy, but when he tries to shoot the 3 figures he is instead blasted backwards. The 3 figures laugh. They are Therns, representatives of the goddess, and she has chosen to side with Prince Sabvan of Zidanga in this conflict. The Thern leader, Matai Shang, gestures for him to test his wholly new powers. The general sends bolts of energy to the enemy ships and wins the combat. Palace of Helium, Dea Thoris, Lynn Collins, is practicing a speech. Her father Tardos Moors, Kieran Hines, the Jeddak of Helium, arrives arguing with an entourage. Dea demonstrates a machine that generates a weak blue ray, something she calls the 9th ray, which she claims is the source of their enemy Zidanga's new power. As the entourage discuss the possibilities, one of them, a disguised Thern, discreetly zaps the device, making it fail. Tardos understands that this power could help level the battlefield, but they have no time to further their research into this mysterious blue ray. He dismisses the group and tells Dea she has to marry Sabvan to end the conflict. Dea is devastated. She knows that the wedding is unlikely to stop Zidangan expansion, and that once married she would no longer be able to continue her research. Back in Tharkville Carter now has a guardian, Woola, a massive, wide-mouthed, low-to-the-ground creature that is very quick and insists on following Carter like a dog, no matter how high or how far he jumps. Carter is disgruntled, as he is trying to find Tars Tarkas to retrieve the medallion, but Woola is able to catch up with him and make enough noise to thwart Carter's plans. Carter ends up jumping into a Thark party, and Woola bursts in and loudly disrupts the gathering. The angry Tharks beat Woola and his owner, Sola. Enraged, Carter jumps in to stop the beating, unintentionally killing a Thark as a result and proving his ability to jump long distances. The Tharks see Carter as a new weapon but are angry at Sola for allowing him to escape. The next day they brand her for her error in front of Carter, who watches in horror as the Tharks warn her that her next offense will lead to death because she has transgressed so many times that she has no room on her skin for more brands. The Tharks take cover when a sentry warns of flying craft. 3 flying battleships appear in the sky, 2 red-flagged, Zodanga, one's chasing a blue-flagged, Helium, 1. They close in for boarding parties and hand-to-hand combat. Tarkus watches with a telescope and explains the war to Carter. The Zodangans are fighting the Heliumites. On the ship Dea Thoris attempts to escape, then falls and hangs on several hundred feet up. John Carter takes action and saves Dea from falling from the crippled helium ship. He manages to kill some Zodanga soldiers and have a brief fight with Sabthan, only for her to prove her own fighting ability. Still, Carter is able to turn the tide of the battle, but the blue helium craft crashes. After this spectacle, Tarkus makes Carter his Dotar Soyot or right arms, even has Dea given to him as part of the Thark spoils. Sometime after that, Carter, accompanied by Dea, tries to find a way to get back to Earth, and stumbles upon a temple ruin sacred to the Tharks where Sola encounters them and tries to stop them from entering, but fails. Apis and her followers the Therns. Dea reads some ancient markings, but before they can proceed the 3 are arrested by the Tharks for going into the temple. Tarkus helps them all escape, at great personal risk, and Carter guesses Sola is his daughter. Considering that Thark custom is to hatch their young in isolation and rear them anonymously, there had to have been plenty of lawbreaking involved. Sola, Carter, and Dea Thoris journey to the river ISS to solve the temple mystery, taking the medallion. Along the way, Sola warns Carter that Dea Thoris is leading them astray. Confronted, she admits they were headed for helium, and a furious Carter makes to abandon her as he realizes she may have been manipulating him to turn him into her new weapon. Back home. There, they find information about the 9th ray, the medallion, and the process by which the Therns telegraph, from planet to planet, but they are later attacked by the Green Martian clan of Warhoon, which were manipulated by Matai Shang to pursue them, as part of a new plan by himself and Sabthan. After initially fleeing, Carter decides to buy the others time by fighting the Horde himself as atonement for not being able to save his family years ago. Though defeating many Warhoon, Carter is ultimately overpowered and is saved when a helium ship, commandeered by Tardos Mors, intervenes. Sabthan is also in the company as Tardos Mors mentions to Dea that he came alone and stated that he organized the rescue party. The demoralized Dea grudgingly agrees to marry Sabthan as Carter is taken to Zodanga to be healed. When Carter awakens, he is guided by Helium Captain Kantos Khan to Dea's room. After Kantos and the servant girls leave, Dea gives Carter his medallion and tells him to go back to Earth. As Dea leaves with Sabthan, Carter is met by Matai Shang, who takes him for a walk around Zodanga. There, Shang explains to Carter about the purpose of the Therns and their age-old manipulations of the histories of civilizations on different planets, also revealing Sabthan's secret plan that he will kill Dea once he marries her, therefore, he'll rule Barsoom forever, thus completing the course the Therns set for Barsoom's fate in the process. Carter is able to escape from Zodanga, as Sabthan's and Dea's wedding begins to proceed. Carter and Sola go back to the Tharks and ask for their help, but discover that Tarkus has been overthrown as Jeddak by Tal Hajus. Tarkus, Carter, and Sola are subjected to a gladiatorial contest with 2 gigantic white Martian apes. After defeating them and easily killing Hajus, Carter is acclaimed leader of the Tharks. A vast Thark army, with Carter at its head, advances on Zodanga, then on Helium, and stops the wedding ceremony. Sabthan reveals his true intentions and sends his soldiers to attack Helium's soldiers, but the combined efforts of Carter, Dea, the Tharks and the Helium army defeat the Zodangan army in a huge battle, ultimately killing Sabthan, while Matai Shang is forced to escape. Carter then marries Dea himself and becomes Jeddak of Helium. That night, Carter decides to stay forever on Mars and throws away the medallion. Seizing this opportunity, Matai Shang re-emerges from hiding and sends Carter back to Earth. Resuming the original framing story, it is revealed that Carter has undertaken a 10-year-long quest, looking for clues of the Therns' presence on Earth and hoping to find another medallion to return to Barsoom. His sudden death and unusual funeral arrangements would seem to indicate that he had succeeded and returned to Barsoom, leaving his Earth body in a coma-like state. His presence on Mars was via a sort of virtual body, and the death of his Earth body would end his life on both planets. He has made Ned his protector, giving him clues about how to open the mausoleum. Ned now hastens to the mausoleum, opens it, but finds no body. He has been covertly stalked by Matai Shang, in the form of a man with a bowler hat. As the would-be assassin prepares to strike, Carter suddenly reappears and kills Shang. He discloses to Ned that he never found any medallion, but instead laid a clever trap for a Thern. Carter then reaffirms that he does need a protector, and Ned happily accepts, with Carter also telling him to enjoy his life on Earth and write a book. He then takes Shang's medallion, enters the mausoleum, invokes the necessary code words, and is instantly teleported back to Mars, to resume his Barsoomian life with Dea. And the movie ends. Subscribe for more videos, like this. Like, share and comment to help the channel out. Thanks for support.